Tkhelidze versus Georgia is the very first femicide case decided against Georgia by the European Court of Human Rights, and it's an extremely important one because it recognizes the failure of the state to protect the woman from being killed by her former husband.
The victim was complaining about her case, about domestic violence, and she tried to seek help from the police on a number of times. Unfortunately, the police did not take the case seriously and into consideration. They didn't order any protective orders. They didn't even start investigation.
ამიტომ ძალიან ხშირად მივმართავდი თითქმის ყველა დღე მივმართავდი პოლიციას, საპატრულო პოლიციასაც და ჩვენი უბნის პოლიციელსაც, მაგრამ არანაირი შედეგი არ იყო.
Marika was a professor at Ilia State University. She used to teach English. The victim and her mother were so afraid of the perpetrators that they even asked the guard of the university and gave his photo. But unfortunately, the perpetrator was able to enter the university, and he knocked the door of the classroom and asked for her. She went out in the corridor, and right away he shot her and committed suicide.
Ehrac litigates violence against women cases before the European Court of Human Rights and the Committee on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. Our partner lawyers assist clients, victims and survivors domestically, so they help them to exhaust at the domestic level in national courts, and only after that we can go to either court or the committee.
We collaborate very closely with our partner lawyers on cases. We decide whether to take them on the basis of their strategic value, and then we will advise on all stages of a case, gathering evidence, the drafting, and our domestic lawyers bring the domestic experience, they have the contact with the applicant, and we bring international experience to a case.
Ehrac has been providing support to us throughout all these stages. Initially, we were discussing with them whether it would be strategically important to take the case to the European Court of Human Rights, and after we made this decision, they've been helping us in collecting various types of evidence necessary for helping us to make the court find the violation in this specific case.
This judgment of the European Court is very important because it fully recognizes the suffering experienced by the victim and her family, and illustrates and uncovers the failures of the authorities, which would be, I think, a very good reference point in the future for the government of Georgia to make sure that the kind of violations that the European Court is flagging will not happen again.
It highlights that this case was not a standalone case, but rather the Strasbourg court saw and that the problems and the failure of the state was of a systemic character.
A positive judgment provides validation for the applicants of their experience, which they won't have received at the domestic level. It provides compensation, which can be very important. It also creates a judicial account of state behaviour, which is unassailable. And it also provides a platform for advocacy, both domestically and internationally, to try to push for change, whether that's legislative or in terms of practice.
საქართველოში ჩვენ ვერ ვნახეთ სამართალი, ამიტომ მივმართეთ სტრასბურგის სასამართლოს, რომელმაც დააკმაყოფილა ჩემი მოთხოვნა და ამაზე ძალიან დიდი მადლობელი ვარ. მაგრამ კომპენსაცია, მარტო კომპენსაციას ჩემთვის არ აქვს მნიშვნელობა. ჩემთვის მთავარია დაისაჯონ ის დამნაშავეები.
As we are looking at this case now, the government is not going to initiate investigation against police because it is not written down specifically in the decision. But we really believe that the investigation has to be performed, and therefore now we are at the stage where we are trying to advocate for this. We are in communication with the government, and we will be communicating with Committee of Ministers for the effective implementation of the decision of the court.
We believe our efforts will contribute to holding perpetrators accountable, and as well as those representatives of state authorities who do not appropriately respond to these kind of instances of domestic violence.
Because of the changes introduced by the government over the last few years, because of the legal improvements and advocacy together with Ehrac and other civil society groups, now Georgia has more mechanisms for protecting women's rights than it had ever had before.